Hey everybody, Dr. Sean Talbot here. Hey, we're going to talk about brain boosting supplements in this video. I've been getting a ton of questions lately around the idea of, what are the best brain support supplements? In fact, I got a question just today that said, can saffron really treat ADHD? And saffron has been studied in ADHD, and we're going to talk about that. But there are so many other brain boosting supplements out there that you should take a look at. So, they're good spices like saffron. They're good barks like pine bark. They're good mushrooms like lion's mane. They can help you with focus and with staying on task and with creativity and all sorts of things like that. In fact, some of them have been studied and compared to prescription medications like Ritalin and Adderall and Concerta and Strattera and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about that kind of stuff. And I'm not sure why I've been getting so many questions lately about these brain boosting supplements. But one of the things I want to tell you in this video is some of the research around these supplements. Which ones are best for which sorts of brain benefits, and then which ones I use myself, which people ask me all the time. It's great to have the research, but what is the one that you actually spend your own money on and put into your body every single day? So we're going to talk about all that kind of stuff. I also have a blog that's posted up at doctalbot.com that has lots and lots of detailed information. So I've got actual research studies and links to those studies on things like saffron as it compares to Ritalin. I've got links to specific products that I use and recommend. I recommend them and I use them myself. Not so much because there's lots of options out there, right? But the ones that I have linked are very good balances between using the ingredient that has been used in the clinical trials at the right levels and low cost, right? So it's sort of a cost benefit public service announcement, with those links. So the first thing when we're thinking about brain supplements is that you have to think about what kind of a brain benefit you're looking for, because it could be that you want quote unquote focus. And that really is like staying on task, focusing on exam, focusing on your schoolwork. If you're somebody who gets easily distracted, then a supplement that helps you stay on task could be really, really beneficial. But that's different than if you're trying to solve a problem or you're trying to write the great American novel or something like that. That's more about creativity, and that's a different kind of thing than focus. In fact, there's some really good research that shows that things that help you really, really focus, like Ritalin, for example, can interfere with your creativity, can interfere with your novel problem solving. So you really have to determine, are you looking for focus or are you looking for creativity? There's other aspects of brain function like memory. Is it an anti-dementia thing you're looking for, an anti-Alzheimer's thing? You're having trouble recalling names and recalling words, and the word is right on the tip of your tongue. That's a different kind of brain boosting or brain support than focus or creativity. And then, a lot of people are looking for brain boosters just because they have, run-of-the-mill garden variety brain fog, right? Where they're just a little bit kind of muddled, and sometimes we refer to brain fog as mental exhaustion, and that is sometimes the kind of the precursor to things like burnout. So that might be more hormone mediated than actual neurotransmitter mediated. So anyway, the reason I'm saying this is that all brain boosters are not created equal, right? Some of them really, really shine in particular areas, and you need to be, as a consumer, you need to be really focused, and really clear on what kind of a benefit you're looking for before you start taking any of these brain boosters sort of willy-nilly. All right. So, going back to the sort of question at hand, when somebody asked me, they said, can saffron cure ADHD? And I've literally actually done hundreds of presentations to emphasize this point, that saffron is not a cure for ADHD. In fact, no supplement is going to be a cure for any sort of a disease condition, right? I train my certified mental wellness coaches, and I talk to the public, and I write about this, that even when the research is in a disease state. If you're looking at saffron in ADHD, or you're looking at a probiotic strain in people with depression, or you're looking at prebiotics and how they impact people with autism, or you're looking at, the list goes on and on, a pomegranate and dementia, or saffron and ADHD, the laws that govern the regulation of dietary supplements prevent natural therapies from treating, curing, mitigating, doing anything to a disease. What only drugs can do that, right? Only drugs can claim to treat a disease. So supplements can't do that by regulation. What supplements need to do is focus on supporting some aspect of normal physiology. So we're supporting focus, we're supporting mood, we're improving mental clarity, right? We're not treating ADHD, we're not treating, the disease of depression, we're not doing anything to autism or dementia or anything like that. So that's really, really important to understand. If you see people online that are saying, here's my supplement that treats ADHD, you probably should be a little wary of that, or at least be wary that they don't understand how they need to promote that, right? So in the blog, you'll see some of the papers that I list have looked at saffron and ADHD, and they've shown equivalence to things like Ritalin. That's good to know, right? We want to know what the research is, but from that research, what we need to take away, if we want to use those data to promote our supplement, we need to say, saffron's been used to treat ADHD. It's been shown to be equivalent to Ritalin, with fewer side effects, which is one of the reasons that I very often will recommend to parents who are looking for a non-stimulant, non-synthetic, non-drug option for their kids or for themselves to help them focus. I'll make them aware of the research, and then I'll say, look, here's this product that's being promoted for focus. It uses the same ingredient that was used in those studies. So, in that way, you're giving good information based on good publicly available research, but you're not actively promoting your product as a treatment for disease, right? So it's always that balance point between sort of what's true and what's allowed by the law, by the regulations. And if you do that in a responsible way, which, like I said, I've done hundreds and hundreds of these sort of educations, then people can make their own informed choice. So there's that. That is as sort of a framework. So given the fact that each of these different ingredients that I'm going to talk about will really shine in a particular way, you might want to start thinking about stacking them, right? So if you have something like meaning you could stack and say, this one works quickly, this one works long term, this one works on focus, this one works on creativity, this one works on memory, this one works on brain fog, et cetera, et cetera. So when you start doing that and seeing what each one of these can do, you can really start to customize and pick apart your own stack. And like I said, at the end of this video, I'll tell you the 4 brain boosters that I take on a regular basis. I'll mention one more thing before I get into the individual ingredients. If you want even more information than is in the blog at doctalbot.com or is in this video, I have a free ebook that you can get that talks all about these nootropics, which are brain boosters, but also talks about adaptogens, which are things that help you manage your stress, adapt to stress. That's why they're called adaptogens. And then psychobiotics, different strains of probiotic bacteria that can help with mood and mental focus and stress resilience and sleep quality and things like that. So if you want to get the details, just go to my website, which is doctalbot.com/free. And you can put in your email, and we'll email you the link to the book. It's totally free. So what are some of the nutrients that I talk about? So saffron for sure. Saffron has been used to help menopausal women with sleep quality. It's been used to help teenagers with mood. It's been used to help kids with mental focus, right? So ADHD in comparison to Ritalin. It works just as well as Ritalin to keep kids on task and, improves their focus, reduces their hyperactivity, but with fewer side effects. So that's one of the reasons I say to parents, try this first, and see if you get the benefits that you're looking for. And if you do, great, everybody's happy. And if you don't, then you can go to Plan B, which is trying one of those pharmaceuticals in conjunction with your doctor and all that kind of stuff. So Saffron is a really good place to kind of start as an overall general mental focus, stay on task, keep you sort of in that zone. But you might also see things like, purified ingredients like theanine. So theanine is an amino acid that has these benefits that are less about just focus, but more a state that I refer to as relaxed alertness. Theanine works on your GABA system. The GABA is your body's primary relaxing neurotransmitter. And so if you're under stress, you want more GABA to help you calm down. So theanine can help you when you're under stress to be alert but relaxed at the same time. So relaxed alertness is what you're getting with theanine. That's different kind of an effect than what you're getting with serotonin. I'm seeing in a lot of pre-workout supplements something called acetylcholine, which is a sort of a stabilized version of a nutrient called choline. Choline is the building block of your body's focus neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. So I'm seeing that show up in a lot of pre-workout products that might have a lot of stimulants in them. So you have stimulants like caffeine and those sorts of things, and that might jack you up and get you ready to do your workout, but you don't want to be all jittery. You don't want to be, overstimulated. So sometimes we're seeing caffeine be combined with theanine, caffeine be combined with acetylcholine. If you're looking for those, theanine and acetylcholine, the brands that I recommend you look for are, in the case of theanine, look for one called Sun Theanine, and in the case of acetylcholine, look for one called Cognizant. Those are the ones that have done most of the research. Those are the ones that are going to be the right purity and the right potency, and the companies that are using those, Sun Theanine brand and Cognizant brand, that those are the companies that care about research and care about purity and care about efficacy and things like that. So look for those. If the brain benefit that you're looking for is more along the lines of memory, then you want to be looking for things like pomegranate and lion's mane and boswellia or haritaki. Those are Ayurvedic herbs that are sometimes used for like a, I guess you would say like an anti-aging kind of an effect, an anti-dementia effect, if you will. So pomegranate's really, really good. This is one of the ones that I take every day because it helps to open up blood vessels to the brain, delivering more oxygen, delivering nutrients. And the version that I like is called PAMA. POMMA plus, PAMA plus, because it's been studied in all sorts of clinical trials in older humans who are, getting a little bit of those senior moments, and this improvement in blood flow and reduction in neuroinflammation and things like that can really make a big difference. Lion's mane is really, really popular right now, but I got to be honest with you, I love lion's mane, but I don't take it on a regular basis because it's more, in my view, lion's mane is more of something that you take when you're older as like a a senior moment sort of a supplement. Sometimes it's called the memory mushroom because it's real. The place where it shines is that if you have the right standardized versions, it can increase the production of these nerve growth factors that can help grow new neurons, which is a really, really good thing. You have to get one that is standardized to the bioactive compounds. So there's compounds called arancinines and other ones called hericinones. And so if you have a lion's mane extract that isn't standardized for those active compounds, you probably have what is rampant in the market right now, which are these low potency mushroom powders. They're typically grown in warehouses on sawdust, and they just don't have the high levels of these of these bioactive compounds that actually deliver the effect. So if you're looking for a lion's mane, look for the ones that are standardized. There are some that are standardized to sort of like a medium level, and there's some that are standardized to a high level. But if your product has no standards, then it's probably one of those low potency powders, and it's not going to do much of anything. There's a really interesting blend of two Ayurvedic herbs that I've recommended in products for a number of years now. It's been around for a while. The blend is called NutriCog, Nutri Cog, COG. So like, nutrition and cognition kind of a name. It's a combination of boswellia, which used in Ayurvedic medicine as a general anti-inflammatory. So I've used boswellia in flexibility, mobility kinds of products, right? To help people, reduce their pain and be able to move better. What I love about it, especially when you combine it with something like turmeric, is that the turmeric gives you a fast-acting anti-inflammatory effect, and the boswellia gives you a longer-lasting anti-inflammatory effect. So, how does that relate to brain boosting? Well, if you have neuroinflammation, that's one of the things that can lead to brain fog. That's one of the things that can lead to memory problems. So if we can give you boswellia and that can lower your systemic inflammation, including your neuroinflammation, your brain's going to work better. Haritaki is another Ayurvedic herb that is used more like a cleanse, so it'll work in your gut to help you get rid of stuff. And that can be a benefit if you're eating, inflammatory foods and, things like that. So, I guess the downside of haritaki is that it can give some people heartburn. It can give some people a little bit of GI upset and things like that because it's more of a cleanse sort of a thing. But when you combine them together, boswellia and haritaki as this NutriCog, there's some data that shows that it helps over about a month of taking it. It helps with overall memory, right? So that's like if memory is your brain issue, then NutriCog might be a good way to go. A good quality lion's mane might be a good way to go. A good quality pomegranate extract like the Palma Plus might be a good way to go. If you're looking for something that is fast acting, so I mentioned before some of these pre-workout products are starting to use things like suntheanine and cognizin, version of theanine and acetylcholine. Some of them are starting to use mango leaf extract. So mango leaf can be extracted in a way that concentrates a bioactive compound called mangiferin. Mangiferin is almost like caffeine in the way that you feel it. It's not a stimulant per se, but it can help to really sort of wake up your brain in an almost immediate way, like caffeine does. I like the experience is almost like it's a cleaner, higher octane version of caffeine, right? That you get that lift, but you don't really get that jittery. So mango leaf extract is a good one. This is another one where I prefer a branded version. So if you go on Amazon and you type in mango leaf extract, you're going to get lots and lots of options. You need to make sure that it's standardized for mangiferin. The version that I like is something called Zynamite, like dynamite but with a Z, because that one has some really good research on it. It has really good research for cognitive benefits. It has really good benefits for like physical performance. Again, you'll see it being used in some of these pre-workouts to get you sort of like in that zone of mental and physical performance. So look for the Zynamite one so you're getting something that's pure. Bacopa is one that I really like. This also is an Ayurvedic kind of a treatment. I've been reluctant to use Bacopa for a number of years because I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, I tried to use Bacopa in a brain support product, and we found that every Bacopa that we looked at was contaminated with these neurotoxins, right? So there's a family of neurotoxins called aflatoxins that you find them in the food supply. You find them in whole grains, you find them in nuts, you find them in peanut butter at a very, very low level. But if you're formulating a brain support product, you probably don't want any level of neurotoxins in your brain support product. So we made sure that we weren't using any of those. I've recently found a Bacopa from a little farm in India that is free of these aflatoxins, right? Free of these fungal neurotoxins. So I'm really excited to be able to formulate again with a bacopa to give a really good sort of like mental performance effect. But there isn't, that there isn't a version of this on the market yet. So I will bring that to you when the time is right. So, but if you choose Bacopa, because it's very popular out there, ask the company that you're buying it from, are they testing for these aflatoxins? And if they are, they'll be, it's expensive to do. They will be more than happy to let you know that their product is testing, free of them or low in them or, something like that. So that's good. If you're looking for something that is more sort of like longer term, brain performance, right? So theanine can be pretty fast acting. Cognizin can be very fast acting. Citicoline, Zynamite can be very fast acting. Sometimes they wear off quicker than you want, right? And you want a longer term effect. That's where something like Saffron that I just talked about could fit in. That's where something like pine bark extract could fit in, because pine bark, not only is it anti-inflammatory and antioxidant, it can also open up blood vessels, so you're delivering more oxygen and nutrients, kind of like what pomegranate does. But it can also help with the balance of blood sugar. And so that's really important for brain function, because your brain is a hog for glucose. Your brain really wants glucose as its primary fuel source. And if you can maintain that blood sugar levels, right, what we call metabolic balance, you're giving a steady supply of blood sugar, your brain's preferred fuel source, and then your brain can do what it needs to do all day long. So if you're looking for a pine bark, the one that I like the best is a New Zealand pine bark, because the purity is really unmatched. It's just a water extract. You're not going to see any solvents. You're not going to solvent residue. You're not going to see any contaminants like what we see with Chinese pine bark. The downside is that it's expensive, but you truly get what you pay for if you're getting this kind of pine bark and not just generic pine bark out there. So again, it's one of those things where if your company, that makes the product that you're choosing, if they're using New Zealand pine bark, they're going to tell you, and they're going to tell you they're using exogenol, and they're not using one of these other generic ones. It's a lot cheaper, but it's also lower potency, not as pure, not going to give you the benefit that you're looking for. Another ingredient you might want to look for to help with that brain blood glucose balance, for sort of sustained mental function, sustained mental fitness, is a lychee extract. So lychee, especially a brand called Oligonol, Oligonol, that's a stabilized version of a lychee extract that will also manage blood sugar. So if I were going to put together a blood sugar control product, I would definitely have exogenol in it. I would definitely have oligonol in it, and you would get systemic blood sugar control benefits, like like an anti-diabetic sort of an effect. But you would also get this balance of blood sugar, and that's going to be good for your long-term sustained brain function. Okay, so you can start stacking those. You could stack exogenol with saffron, and you could stack suntheanine with caffeine and with cognizin citicoline. You could stack blah blah blah. You get the idea, right? So sometimes you want fast acting, sometimes you want long lasting, sometimes you want more focus, sometimes you want more memory. But that's what you need to think of, is that all of these different things, all these different ingredients will have different benefits. And so you want to get the benefits, but then you also want to get the exact version that was used in the clinical trials. And so in the blog, if you go check out my blog, again, doctalbot.com, and go to the blog area, and you'll find this post, you'll see a whole bunch of different products that I recommend, right? And these are all just Amazon links to make it really easy for people to get them. But I've got recommendations for Saffron, I've got recommendations for Nutricog, for Zynamite, for Lion's Mane, for a variety of different things. And then if you want to really dive into the details and you want to get into the weeds, then definitely go to doctalbot.com/free, and you can put in your email and you can get that free ebook, which is all about sort of leveling up. Here we're talking about brain performance, but leveling up any kind of performance. You might be talking about brain boosters like nootropics. We might be talking about adaptogens to help you, deal with stress and improve your resilience. We might be talking about psychobiotics to help with your mood. Those are all different ways to level up. So put your comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about, these recommendations. I'd love to hear what you think about, other supplements that you want me to cover in this YouTube channel. And if you got some value out of this, subscribe, share it with your friends. And before I leave, which are the ones that I take, right? Of all that long list that I just talked about, what am I taking on a regular basis? Every day I take Saffron, right? That's the version of saffron that's been used in the clinical trials that help with mental focus. So saffron. I take exogenol pine bark every day. I take suntheanine, L-theanine, and what's the last one? Pomegranate. I take the Pomma Plus, POMMA plus pomegranate. So I'm getting something that helps with my memory. I'm getting something that helps with long-term, sustained mental focus throughout the day. PAMA is helping with my memory. Exogenol is helping with my blood sugar regulation and that sustained focus. Suntheanine is helping quickly get me into that zone of relaxed alertness, especially when I'm stressed out. And then saffron is sort of the Swiss Army knife, if you will, of all the different mental focus. It's going to help with my focus. It's going to help with my mood. It's going to help with my resilience. If I took it at night, it would probably help with my sleep quality. I'm not a menopausal woman, but that's what the research shows. And so, that's my stack. It's a stack of 4, and it helps with each of those different areas of overall brain function. So I can do videos like this for you guys. I can write articles. I can write books, and I can try to help people as much as possible. So, like I said, give me some comments below, subscribe, and let me know how I can help you next time. All right, see ya.